How's it hanging, Phil?
I hate kids.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave. Now, before we get started, to stay on top of all things horror and heroes as it comes fresh out of the Dave Cave, hit that subscribe button. Today, we are continuing my review series of the entire Child's Play franchise with Child's Play 2. It was directed by John Lafia, stars Alex Vincent returning as Andy, Brad Dourif returning as Chucky, and introducing, well, at least to the series, Christine Elise McCarthy as Kyle, Andy's foster sister. And the story picks up at an indeterminate yet fairly short time after the first one, and that is pretty much evidenced by the fact that Andy's mom is in a psych ward being evaluated, and that is what sends Andy into foster care and how he meets Kyle and sets up basically an entire new scenario, yet at the same time having similar feels. And also what that does is that gives a decent time frame for the good guy dolls to investigate what happened with Chucky, and how they start to do that is the opening sequence. And now, I said in the first one that I really enjoyed the opening sequence of that. I like that they have a completely different feel, and while you are watching this doll be worked on, it feels icky. It feels kind of, it feels like an autopsy, but really it's just a doll. And they're rebuilding the doll, and that's awesome because then you have this rebirth of Chucky. The same doll that was inhabited by this dude. It makes some kind of sense to be able to bring him back. They do that really good in this series. We're going to touch on that as it keeps going. And what's so cool about that autopsy opening is it gives a reason why Chucky would be able to come back with this whole, we have to prove to the shareholders that the doll was faulty, that there's not some kind of possession or whatever, or somebody messed with a microchip to say, I'm possessed by Charles Lee Ray. There's some very cool ways that they explain how everything is falling into place. Now this is another movie that I haven't watched in a very long time. Again, way longer than I remember. But this movie was a lot smarter than a lot of people give this entire series credit for. I think I said that word for word in my last review for the first one. It's a lot smarter. The way they explain Chucky being around, the way they put Andy into a new scenario, but also a similar scenario where Chucky has the exact same goals, but has to go about it a little bit differently, has to encounter Andy in different ways, and Andy has to defend himself in different ways, and also allows for very different kills. We'll get into those, just hang on. And what I mean by the fact that it has a similar feel, but also hits different beats while being very different, is with the new foster family, the Simpsons, Phil and Joanne, and also with Kyle, is you introduce people that wouldn't believe Andy. Andy is to them, disturbed little boy. So then you have these occurrences happen, and you have Chucky framing him for things. Granted, he's not framed for murder, not really for a while in the movie at least, but he's not framed for murder. He's framed in different ways to get the family to not believe Andy, so that really, when Andy really tries to tell everybody really, that Chucky is back, they're not going to believe him. It's a very smart move on part of Chucky. Another similar yet fresh beat is when Kyle unearths the Tommy doll, and she finds out that Chucky actually is alive and that Andy has been telling the truth. It's very similar to when Karen finds out about Chucky in the first one. Andy's been sent away. He's been framed for murder, and nobody believes him. And then you have this moment where somebody, a hero type, in this it's Kyle, finds out that Chucky is real. And then she goes in, stuff goes from there. But it's very cool because you get the same kind of feel of the first one, but it's a fresh way of going about it. I love smart little moments like that. And you get a lot of those, at least in these first two. And speaking of nobody believing Andy Barkley, holy hell. This kid is a tragic ass character. And I know I said it before that I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and I hadn't seen the first one in a long time. This is another one I haven't seen since becoming a father. And holy hell, man. That shit is tragic. That shit is depressing. As well it should be. You have this kid that is dealing with the PTSD of a doll trying to murder him and his mother and this detective, and you have him sent into foster care. And you have nobody believes him, and he's trying to grapple with that. And then you have the fact that his mom's not there. And then you have Chucky show up and keep fucking with him, with his mind, and also trying to basically take over his body. That is messed up stuff, and Alex Vincent does so damn good in this movie. The kid tears my heart out. It's so just, you want to give the little man a hug. But he's strong. He's still strong, which is weird to me because then later in the movie, and I understand that you got to have, things evolve the way they evolve and whatever. I don't make the choices for these movies. But to have Andy still be this strong kid, his odd compliance once Chucky gets a hold of him. Like really once Chucky gets a hold of him, he does whatever he wants. He goes wherever he wants and he lays down and he does this and that. But before that, he's going through the basement. He's ready to cut the hell out of Chucky. It doesn't really make sense his switch into doing that. And now, speaking of his compliance, one of my favorite parts of this movie. So Chucky gets a hold of Andy and they make their way to the good guy factory. And it's basically a pretty good setting because you have all these machines working and going. But before all of that happens, Andy Barclay lays down, Chucky does the chant, and it doesn't fucking work. He wins. Dude straight up wins. And then it doesn't work. The blood drips out of his nose, and dude goes ape shit. Another of my favorite parts of this movie is we hear Rage Cage Chucky a lot. We hear his laugh a lot. We hear him yell a lot. We hear him swear a lot. And an ugly, raging Chucky is the best kind of Chucky. And we get so much of it in this movie. Oh, I love it so much. And then when Chucky finds out that he doesn't need to preserve the body anymore, that it's not necessary, that he can just let it all out on this kid, the absolute savagery that goes on for the rest of the film is awesome. Chucky just goes full balls out, and because he goes full balls out, he gets way more fucked up than he does in the first one. Dude gets his hand caught in a gate, fucking rips it off, doesn't cut it off, rips it off, sticks a knife on there, and keeps going. He gets caught in the machine, cuts off his own legs, possibly cuts off his own legs, fakes his own death, and keeps going, and then gets a whole bunch of molten plastic dumped on him, gets the hose stuck in his mouth, and then he blows up. You can't get much more definitive of a kill than what happens in this movie. I understand they improve on that in the future, but the way this movie ends with his just absolute ass kicking is spectacular and amazingly definitive. And that is very much a sign of the times in this movie that he gets so definitively destroyed, and then we have a sequel. A lot of movies do that. And I think this series handles how you bring him back a lot better than most. That then brings me right up to something that I actually really don't like about this movie, is how abrupt and open-ended the ending is. Chucky blows up. You know what we're going to do? No? You want to just roll credits on them walking out of the factory? Yeah? Alright, yeah, we're going to do that. We don't need to wrap up anything. We'll just, fuck it, just have them talking and bullshitting. Send them out. Roll the credits. Roll the black screen up. We're good. We don't need to know what happens. It's like they didn't know how they actually wanted to end it. Like they didn't know what was supposed to happen with Andy and Kyle from there on out. Child's Play 3 handles that, but going into the actual end of Child's Play 2, not knowing that there would be a Child's Play 3, the fuck kind of ending is that? Trash. This film deserved better. And speaking of better, we are going to talk just a little bit about the kills of this movie. There are twice as many, well almost twice as many, and has one of the best kills of the entire series, the yardstick massacre of that fucking bitch, Miss Kettlewell. I never really appreciated how much of a bitch she was until now, being an adult, watching this movie again. She's just a raging bitch. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that everybody who's a raging bitch needs to die. But in this movie, you have people die that kind of have it coming, which you didn't really have in the first one. You have Mattson. He's a douche, asshole, piece of shit. He dies. You have Phil. While he's trying to do his best, he's mostly kind of a dick, and he's really a dick to Andy. So you kind of have this, we want him to die. Then Miss Kettlewell, like I said, she could fucking die all day. I don't care. She's a perfect cannon fodder character for a horror movie. In the first one, you obviously, like I said, you get half as many, but you don't really see anybody as needing to die. Like, you have his getaway guy in the first one. Okay, that's fine. But then you have John, who taught him voodoo, and he just completely throws Chucky to the wind. It's like, fuck you. You took this and you twisted it to your own means. And then Chucky kills him for it. This is the movie where people, the stereotypical, you want people to die characters come into the film. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's noticeable. And speaking of the kills, fun little fact, Dick Warlock did all of the stunt work on this movie. Who's Dick Warlock? Michael Myers from Halloween 2. Holy shit, I didn't know that going in. And while we are still on the topic of kills, hit the comments below and let me know what your favorite kill is in this movie. Mine's Miss Kettlewell. That bitch had it coming. So overall, I would say that this movie still ranks in the top third of the entire Child's Play series for me. It is a very solid entry to be a sequel to the first, because the first was so crazy, but this one gets the upped production value. Chucky looks a lot better across the board. The kills are crazier. Just everything is amped up a little bit more, and you finally get, like I said, not a lot of films do this, you get the bad guy winning and then having to just go on a mean streak after that because he doesn't actually win. And I know what you're saying. Dave, you said you reviewed Child's Play. Where's the link to that? In the description below. Go check it out. And because this is the review for Child's Play 2, you can bet your ass that Child's Play 3 review is coming down the pipe, so be on the lookout for that. And once the entire review series has been released, there will be links to each and every one of those reviews in the description below. And while you are down in the description, be sure to check out my Instagram and Twitter at @TheDaveCave_. I post over there when I am not posting here. That is going to do it for me today, folks. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave. See y'all real soon with Child's Play 3. Take care.